Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC, well, it is a good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here, you there, here at 11:30 on this Friday night on the William Haynes Show, as always, live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. The Rays drop Game 3 of the 2020 World Series by a score of 6-2 at the hands of the Los Angeles Dodgers. LA Town now leads this series 2-1. I believe the stats, it's about 70% in favor of the team that wins Game 3 in a 1-1, I guess, kind of series, however you want to say it. We get, on the last show that we did a couple of days ago, we said it was basically now a best of 5. Basically, the way I'm looking at this, the Dodgers are just taking Game 1 of this best of 5. The Yankees took Game 1 of a best of 5, and the Rays won back-to-back after that and all that other stuff, and we know the drill with that. So no means at this time are we hitting the panic button or anything like that. I don't think it's as big a deal as maybe some people would like to have you believe. I don't think under any circumstance do you want to see a team lose in this fashion and see a guy in Charlie Morton, who now is being regarded as one of the best, I guess, pitchers in postseason history. It's kind of crazy, the stuff that's going around right now. To see him go 4 1/3 and give up 5 earned runs and all that stuff. I think the narrative was really driven just by the fact that this game got so out of hand so early. The home run in the first inning, it was 3-0 at the end of the third. At the end of the fourth, it was 5-0. The Dodgers pretty much just ran away with this one. I guess I made it look like a fool when I at WHBC Stream on Twitter. You can drop us a line on there, but and make sure you follow that to get updates on this very show. But I tweet out the lineup card, basically quote retweet when it gets put out, and my thoughts. And I said, well, this was the same exact lineup that the Rays trotted out in Game 1, I believe, and against Kershaw. Or maybe it was the one that they trotted out in Game 2. Both were against right-handed starters, so it doesn't make much of a difference. And I said with Charlie Morton on the mound doing what he's done, I think he's only given up 1 earned run going into the start against however many innings that he had, that maybe the Rays would only have to score 2 or 3 runs to win tonight. Well, they scored 2 runs, but they do not win. For the Dodgers, it was 6 runs on 10 hits, no errors. And then for the Rays, it was just 2 runs on 4 hits. No errors for them either. I don't want to bury the lead, of course, because this game really takes front and center stage, but there was a couple things that came out I thought about maybe doing a show yesterday, but there was no game to talk about, and we had already previewed Game 3, so I just figured I'd just touch on it at the beginning of this show, but it seems like now it's old news. One thing that I just really wanted to touch on again, and I know I spent a good portion of what, at this point, Wednesday's show talking about Blake Snell. I guess people that put up the stats on ESPN or whatever, they don't really watch the game, and I saw Blake Snell getting a lot of good publicity for a good start. I know, like, what was it, Tom Verducci in the post-game interview? You know, you had a good start. What was working tonight? I mean, really? In a World Series start, and you don't get through 5 innings, and we're regarding this as some sort of, like, really good quality start? I understand he struck out 9, and it was, it gets 4 2/3. That's a good chunk of the outs, but I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Stop looking at the strikeout numbers. Pretty much every out that he gets is via the strikeout. It's because he's trying to strike everybody out, and it's to his detriment. He walked 4. It's just, 4 2/3 of 2 hits. You're thinking, okay, we're cruising. But no, he had the base runners out at the wazoo with the 4 walks. That kind of irked me, and I think it's kind of contributing to the problem a little bit with Snell. It gives me the impression that's never going to change. This is Blake Snell, because if anyone thinks that's a good start, you're not doing him or anyone else any favors, to be honest. But I mean, I know the people, the real baseball heads in the Rays front office, I think, kind of know the truth, and kind of where I lie on that. But I think that's all I really had to say about that. We'll see him if this series goes to what I think a game 6, we'll see Snell, and then if it goes to Game 7, we'll see Morton again, which, depending on how you feel about him, could be a good or a bad thing. If you told me right now that we would get a Game 7 with Morton on the bump against Buehler, just give it to me. I'll take it, because at this point, I mean, I still think I still like the Rays in the series. I don't think it's over by any means. It's just 2 games to 1 in a best of 7. Let's not get ahead of ourselves from that standpoint, but we'll have to wait and see. And just the other thing that I wanted to touch on, because I saw just a lot of people talking about it. It seemed like a big issue, at least going into this game. And I know what the off day in the World Series, the narrative has to be driven by something, and there was something that came out, was the Gold Glove final nominees. And if you're not aware, it's just for every position, 1 through 9. It's just who played the best defense, and there's, I guess, 3 finalists in each league, American and National. No Rays player. No, not G-Man Choi. I guess I should have led with Kevin Kiermaier, Joey Wendell, Willie Adames, even Mike Zunino. None of those were finalists. Even Brandon Lau, I suppose, at second base. None were finalists for American League Gold Glove Awards, and Kevin Kiermaier's a guy who's won a Platinum Glove, which is they only give it to one player in each league who plays the best overall defense, and of course center field. That's probably the most important position to have a good defender at, and it came out that in past years it was coaches and managers that had a pretty big, I guess, input on determining finalists and I guess the final voting process. This year, I'd imagine because of the shortened season and because managers and coaches were, busy just trying to make sure their guys were testing negative and all that kind of stuff, that they didn't bother them, with trying to vote on that. Give them something less to worry about. And maybe the shortened season as well. Coaches, managers, they're not watching as much baseball. They're just trying to make sure their team is on the right track, so on and so forth. So they and also, I guess, no interdivision play. So the East stays with the East, Central with the Central, West with the West. Managers just coaches aren't just seeing a lot of other players. So I gather they didn't do that, but instead they opt to go for sabermetrics, advanced metrics, whatever it is that they look at, defensive metrics, stuff that I wouldn't understand. You may understand, you may not. I'm not as familiar into all that stuff. I'm more personally of an eye test guy myself. I know that's kind of the Bill Jameses of the world would kind of cringe at hearing me say something like that, but I still think the eye test is still the best way to determine players in any sport. I don't think there is any replacement for watching a player play. I think advanced statistics are just a good way to basically make shortcuts. You don't have to watch every game. You can just pull up a spreadsheet and say this player does this, that player does that, so on and so forth. So the fact that they go with those advanced metrics in determining Gold Gloves, to me, I don't think that's the best way to determine it. The best thing that I can liken it to in college football a number of years ago, I believe it was like the early 2000s up until 2013. In college football, the way they determined the rankings and who played in the national championship and all that stuff, it was determined by what they called the BCS, which was it was just a formula. It was a computer that you put in all the metrics and it would spit out the top 25 teams, and the number 1 and number 2 teams in the rankings would face off in the national championship. And of course, that system got abolished because it just wasn't very good. It didn't. I mean, there was a year where Rutgers and Kansas and USF were right at the top, but they weren't playing anyone. But they fit the metrics, X, Y, Z, what have you, and they end up going away and go to the college football playoff. That basically is a board. It's like 8 to 12 people, I believe, of university administrators and athletic directors and real humans that watch the games and basically debate which team should be ranked where. And before the BCS, we're talking, from the 1990s all the way back to, the 1800s, whenever that system first started. It was the coaches poll and the AP poll. So it was the coaches that would rank the teams, and the Associated Press, basically the media, that covered college football for a living. They would determine basically who was the national champion, all that stuff. And I don't know, the point in that is I just think having computers, having, algorithms, sabermetrics determine that kind of stuff, especially an award Best Defender. And I think it was Andy Freed brought up a really good point on the broadcast on WDAE. I had that synced up to the TV because who wants to listen to Joe Buck and John Smoltz for 3 or 4 hours? Dave and Andy are a real treat. They've been doing this for the race since 2005. I think they're really the best in the biz from a radio standpoint. Would love, honestly, Fox Sports Sun should just sync up the radio feed to the TV, but I understand Dwayne Stats and BA and all that stuff is fine. Andy Freed brought up a good point that with the new shifts and all that stuff that the Rays are doing, maybe the reason why guys weren't getting nominated was because the Rays defense is just in such a good position. It seems like the ball is just going right into the glove, especially like Joey Wendell, like the liners that go right to him. There's not as much running and diving plays, although Willie Damas and G-Man Choi do have those kind of stuff. Just maybe better positioning almost hurts the Rays because they're not making the splash plays, all that kind of stuff. The statistics I'm familiar with, you see on ESPN all the time, is like distance covered and blah, blah, blah. And Andy Freed also brought up a really good point that Kevin Kiermaier, for example, he gets a really good first step. So he doesn't necessarily have to make a diving play, although sometimes he does. But, sometimes, he can make it look routine when it's really not, just because a lot of practice goes into it. I mean, he basically trains like a free safety in the offseason with the kind of stuff that he does, like a ball hawk. And I don't know, maybe it hurts. Kevin Kiermaier, I've been doing this show, I think, pretty much after every Rays game. I've watched every Rays game. When I haven't been able to watch, I've at least listened to it on the radio. I don't think I've missed in some form or capacity any game this year. And I can say, I think I didn't watch a lot of other teams just because this keeps you busy enough, 3 or 4 hours basically every day. But Kevin Kiermaier to me is a Gold Glove type guy. I know Jackie Bradley Jr., I don't know a whole lot about him. Obviously, we see him play when we play the Red Sox, that he was left off the finalist list as well. And people that know a lot more about baseball than I do were saying any list of Gold Glove that doesn't include Kevin Kiermaier or Jackie Bradley Jr. is a list that's not worth a damn anyway. So that's my piece on it. I mean, we're about 15 minutes into the program, and I haven't really talked a lot about Game 3, so I suppose in some ways that's my mistake. But that's just a couple things that I wanted to get off my chest, and it's just that's where I'm at, and maybe give you a couple things that you hadn't heard from that perspective. With that being said, we're not going to take a break. I'll just keep powering through. I don't know how many people we have. I know the various social medias that I put this out on, it gets kind of flooded with other content. But hopefully we've got people listening. And if you are and you'd like to call in, talk to me, you want to get off your thoughts about the Rays tonight, you want to tell me maybe how they should strategize for tomorrow, perfectly willing to take that call and to hear you out. The number, we have a line open for you currently. It is 877-566-1020. Again, 877-566-1020. With that being said, again, for the next, 30, 45 minutes, We'll be talking on everything about Game 3. I've got the box score. I've got the scorecard. We've got inning by inning, and that always, I think, provides a lot of value as far as, different, whether it's hits or big outs that are made, what pitch it came on, and the location of the pitch and all that stuff. So again, for the Dodgers, it was 6 runs on 10 hits, no errors. For the Rays, 2 runs on 4 hits, no errors. I guess I'll lead off with this, although I think the Charlie Morton start, I think, really was the determining factor in the end result of this game. Like I said, I mean, if the pitching staff really does their thing, there's certainly a scenario where the Rays could win this game 2-1. I guess the Rays offense in proper only really put up 1 run. It was a garbage time solo home run by Rosarena off of, the Dodgers closer, Kenley Jansen, so make of that what you will. And I just want to throw this out there. Rosarena ties the all-time record with 8 homers in a single postseason. I mean, that's like putting him up with 2002 Bonds, who hit, 70 in the season, and a couple of other big guys. He also broke the rookie record for hits on a postseason with 23, passing Yankees' Derek Jeter, set in 1996. The crazy thing about that as well is I don't even think this regular season will count for Rosarena's rookie season. So I think he'll be a rookie next year as well. But if the Rays are in the playoffs and he's on the playoff roster, I guess it would be considered, rightfully so, his second postseason. So it's kind of funny for him to be setting rookie records when he's technically, I guess, I don't know exactly the terminology. I mean, I guess he technically is a rookie, but he still will be a rookie next season. So I don't know. However, maybe what if he hits? What if he hits 24 hits next postseason? Will that be considered breaking the rookie record? I don't know. That's just an interesting little caveat for you there. But again, I get off track as I am wont to do. The biggest thing for me, the Rays walk once, and they got 4 hits. Let's do some napkin math. How many base runners is that? That's 5. Okay, let's look at the series, and this was a big point that I made. In Game 1, they scored 3 runs on 7 base runners. Okay, so that's a lot more than more than they had tonight. 7 base runners, 3 runs. In Game 2, they doubled both of those. They got 14 base runners and got 6 runs. So I'm like, okay, we're going in the right direction. Still not... If you get 14 base runners, to me, maybe you could put up more than 6 runs, but 6 wasn't up to win in a 6-4 kind of shootout-y game, I guess, a little bit. The Dodgers made a nice push there late, I suppose. But then they revert back to, I'm not going to say typical Rays, because really typical Rays is like 14 base runners and like 3 or 4 runs. This was, I think, just really an off night all around. 5 base runners, that's it? Over 9 innings, really? 5 base runners? Walker Buehler had faced the minimum through 4. Thanks in part, it was a Kiermaier walk and a Zunino double play in the third, and he had a no-hitter going through 4 and a third. Kind of like Blake Snell, but in a lot of ways a lot more different, because Blake Snell had already walked, I think, like 2 or 3, and Walker Buehler just the 1. Buehler was really dominating tonight. He finishes 6 innings pitched of just a run, 3 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, 93 pitches, 67 strikes. He faced 21 batters, threw first pitch strike to 15 of them. And for the Rays, taking a lot of first pitch strikes, which against a guy like that is not good. I suppose it plays into the strategy of trying to work long at bats and get him deep into the ball game. Well, didn't work. If they needed, they probably could have had him go 7, but I know he's dealing with a blister, which I totally forgot to mention in the preview. I heard the piece they did on one of the NLCS games, in that it only bothers him when he throws off-speed stuff. But, I mean, he could have thrown just fastballs and probably gotten through almost as much as he did tonight, to be perfectly honest with you. Just, I don't know, and I know a listener mentioned, someone that listens to a lot of my shows, he was talking to me after my show for Game 1, and he told me, he's like, there was multiple times in the show where I knew you just wanted to say what the F, but you can't say it because, this isn't officially radio. I'm not, monitored by the FCC or anything like that, but I try and keep it clean, keep it proper, good practice for me, sports broadcaster in training, and here I find myself kind of doing the same thing. What the F? But I can't really say it. I just... This is the American League pennant winner, and you can't hit fastballs in the zone. Wow, that's just kind of the reality we're living in, and I don't want to get as far ahead of myself as I did, I think, in the show following Game 1, because I really came after the team, and I think in part rightfully so, but then they came back in Game 2 and scored 6 runs and kind of put all that stuff to bed. And kind of made me look like an idiot, and kind of a lot of other people, I suppose, that follow this team as well. So I'm not going to go that far. I mean, maybe I should and keep that jinx going, I guess the reverse jinx, if you will, and maybe the team will get back on track tomorrow. As far as I know right now, I'm going to just do a quick refresh. If anyone that we have listening live, to try and keep you updated. We do not have a starter for tomorrow, it appears. It would imagine it would be Ryan Yarbrough in some sort against Julio Urias of the Dodgers, and the only other announced we have in Game 5 on Sunday. We have Kershaw going for the Dodgers, and I would suppose it would probably be Tyler Glasnow going for the Rays. It's just not official yet, as Kevin Cash is trying to keep his stuff close to the vest, and rightfully so, trying to take every advantage he can. I guess getting back to my point, it seemed like with in the case of Charlie Morton, I mean, he was throwing... He's got, 3 or 4 pitches, depending on how you categorize. I mean, he's got a 4-seam, I guess it's called, but it has 2-seam movement. He's also got a cutter and a curveball. And he was trying to work all that stuff, but nothing was working. It was all catching too much of the plate. And the Dodgers, credit to them, were making contact with it, because I think even Charlie Morton on kind of an off day can still really dominate guys. And we saw, I mean, I'm not exactly sure, and I think we only really notice when pitchers leave too much over the plate when they're getting knocked around, because it seemed like in Houston, the Game 7, it could have been he was getting a lot of the plate, because he got a lot of outs early in counts and a lot of ground balls, but it was just weak contact. Like maybe Houston just wasn't squaring him up, but the Dodgers definitely were squaring him up. For Morton, he takes the loss, 4 1/3, 5 runs on 7 hits. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So he gives up more base runners than strikeouts. I would say that's probably never a good statistic. He throws 91 pitches, 58 for strikes. Faces 22 men. Throws the first pitch strike to 13 of them. So nearly as good, I guess, as Buehler was. Just a little less as far as the ratio. But it didn't really matter. The Dodgers scored all 6 of their runs with 2 outs, and I think a lot of them, I don't know how many, with 2 strikes as well. So not quite Blake Snell, where he'd work 0-2 to everyone and then the count would go full, but it seemed like for Morton, even on an 0-2, a 1-2, even a 2-2 pitch, the Dodgers were squaring it up, just because there was no get-me-over strike pitch, I think, especially, like I said, deep in counts. I don't know. We'll take a look at it when we go inning by inning, but it didn't seem like really. There was no put away pitch, but I don't even know if there was necessarily a go-to for Morton. I know there was curveballs out of the zone that were taken, and the ones that caught the plate were hit well. So, and usually that's a pitch that's not squared up well. I think Charlie Morton's curveball is regarded as one of the best pitches potentially in baseball. Another interesting statistic that I heard during the broadcast was Charlie Morton. I mean, they call him Ground Chuck. That's what he's been in his career. Just gets a lot of ground balls, and it makes sense with the kind of movement that his pitches have. It's really hard to square up his pitches, and so because that, it's just a lot of weak contact, like we kind of see with the Yarbrough, with any kind of. And Morton is a kind of a sidewinder. A little bit as well, 3/4, whatever you want to call it. Fox had a nice graphic. They put the hands on the clock, and I think the Rays bullpen was built that way intentionally, but they have from both sides pretty much every arm angle imaginable, just to give hitters different looks. In case you were just maybe wondering about that, but my point about Morton is I need to start writing stuff down. I get out of track. For Morton, I don't know exactly what the case was. I think it's clear that his pitches were catching too much of the plate. I know Dave Wills mentioned a couple times, pitches were coming up as cutters, but they weren't moving. So if you're going to have a pitch that doesn't move, throw it 96, 97 like Morton is fully able to do. Don't throw it at 92 or 93, which is the cutter. But it's a cutter that doesn't move, so it's more of an easier pitch to hit. So, and obviously, I mean, Morton knows all that. He's so well spoken. I'm interested to see maybe his post game presser. I'd imagine also with a loss, especially in the World Series, he's going to be maybe a little bit more buttoned up, maybe a little more raw as well. So who knows from that? I couldn't track down the Fox Sports Sun post-game show. I don't know. Maybe they're not carrying it tonight. I would imagine they would be. I just Hulu is not great with that kind of stuff. Actually, what we're going to do here, I think this is a good little stopping point just to take a short break, just because I'm not sure how many people we have listening right now. Try and maybe reel some more people in, potentially get a caller or two on the line, just so it's not my monotonous voice here for an hour plus. So with that being said, we'll take a couple minutes off. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. Again, number to call during the break is 877-566-1020. Be back in a minute.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
HBC. And at 11:56, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Final 30 minutes or so of the program, although at least during the World Series, we've been prone to running a little bit long. What we have to do for the rest of the show, tell you more about tonight's loss, do some more stuff looking at the box score. We also have stuff inning by inning, looking at different pitches and things like that. And we'll end the show previewing Game 4. It looks like it will be Julio Urias of the Dodgers. That has been announced against some form of Ryan Yarbrough, which we'll talk about. He's on 3 days rest, but he only pitched, I think, 18 pitches. So I had mentioned, I think, after Game 1, that could pretty much just be counted as a bullpen session, like basically starters do in between starts, and not, I guess, resetting the calendar or however you look at it. But we'll talk about more into that later. Again, a couple of reminders. The number to call, we've got any listeners, maybe reeled a couple more in during the break. If you want to call in, talk Rays, maybe talk about what you didn't like about the strategy tonight, what you would like to see tomorrow, anything like that. Number to call, 877-566-1020. Taking your calls really until the end of the show. There's no real, I guess, kind of format or whatever. You just call in whenever you please. And then that's it. Again, I know I said it 2 times already, but the Dodgers, 6 runs, 10 hits, no errors for the Rays. 2 runs on 4 hits, no errors for them either. We told you about the 2 starting pitchers. Buehler was pretty much dealing, I would say. I mean, the knuckle curve and what the slider was working, I think is he throws the fastball about 75% of the time, then the curveball about 15%, and then the other 2 pitches that I mentioned, are the rest of the percentage, if you will. And then Morton was mixing and everything, fastball, cutter, curveball, and none of it was working, unfortunately. The Dodgers were just pouncing on it. I don't know. It's kind of surprising. I know he got that 4-inning save, rather, in Game 7 against the Dodgers in the 2017 World Series. And I think he had a couple of starts against them as well, I would assume. So maybe a couple years later, the Dodgers were just ready to exact their revenge. I don't exactly know. But Walker Buehler v. Charlie Morton, a potential Game 7 rematch. I guess we'll have to hope for that. I mean, the Rays could still, I guess, take this series in 6 games, which was my initial prediction. I don't really see how you win 3 in a row against this team. The Rays won 3 against the Astros. They won 2 against the Yankees. But I don't know. We'll see. I think after Game 4 tomorrow, we'll have a better idea. I'm not going to count the Rays out at 3 down 3-1. We've watched this team too much to ever really count them out until the Dodgers win that 4th game. And if they win and tie the series 2-2, I think then we've got to feel really good about the Rays. But again, at that rate, it's kind of the pattern, the seesaw. The Dodgers win 1 big, then the Rays win 1 close, Dodgers win 1 big, and probably the Rays, if they win, it'll be close. So yeah. I guess we'll start with the lineup first. Defensive alignment in the outfield from left to right. It was Randy Arozarena in left. No Gold Glove nominees. Kevin Kiermaier in center. In right field, it was Manny Margot. In the infield, from third to first, it was Joey Wendell at third. Adames at shortstop. Brandon Lau at second. G-Man Choi at first. Mike Zunino was the catcher. Austin Meadows, the designated hitter. The way the lineup was structured, Meadows, as expected, leads off, followed by Lau and Arozarena. G-Man Choi, the cleanup man, followed by Margot and Joey Wendell. And a bottom 3 of Willy Adames, Kevin Kiermaier, and Mike Zunino. They only made 1 pinch hit during the game. It was Yoshi pinch hitting for Mike Zunino in the 8th, and he grounded out to, I believe, second base, if my scorecard proves to be correct. I guess we'll just go one by one as I typically do, because I think there's just value in, just seeing the situations where guys come up. It's not just a simple line. But I move somewhat quickly so we can get out, I guess, in a reasonable time. We're now at midnight even, so we've now crossed into Saturday morning here in the William Haynes Show. We'll be on, I guess, now tonight, recapping Game 4. We'll be on Saturday and Sunday night. Of course, World Series, got to be on even during the weekends. This is a big deal to be able to cover this. So we'll start with Austin Meadows first. Leads off, DH'd. And I guess let me just make sure so I don't say something incorrect. Okay, this was the identical lineup to the one that the Rays trotted out in Game 2. And I think in 60 games in the regular season, they had 57 or 58 different lineups. So I saw the jokes, is it allowed to do the same lineup 2 days in a row? And my response is just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess for lack of better grammar or however you want to say. It's a right-handed pitcher again. You scored 6 runs last night, got 14 base runners. That lineup seems like it's working to me. You had Brandon Lau driving 3 runs. You had Joey Wendell driving 3 runs. I think that was the first time in a World Series where I think a pair drove in 3 runs, and those were the only runs scored, something like that. Pretty cool. A couple of lefties, a couple of youngsters, partners on the infield as well. So the lineup stayed the same. Obviously, it didn't work as well. I think that's credit to Walker Buehler for doing what he did tonight. Austin Meadows, the DH leading off. He was 1 for 4 with a strikeout. He started off the game, I think it was a 1-1 count or something like that. Maybe saw 3 pitches. Grounded out to first base. 3 unassisted. Okay, fine. I would have preferred maybe a deeper at bat, but he put a decent swing on it. Okay. Flew out for the first out in the 4th, but it was a pretty nice hit. It was like the best struck ball at that point in the game, I believe Dave Will said on the broadcast. In the 6th inning, had a 1-out single. Okay, gets on base, and then the 9th was the first out. He was a strikeout victim against the righty Kenley Jansen. So not a lot from Austin Meadows. Don't imagine potentially he would be starting in the lineup next 2 days. Julio Urias, the lefty, Kershaw, the lefty. So maybe it's a situation where he comes off the bench, something like that, although I don't think he's been particularly effective as a pinch hitter, but I would rather get Yandy Diaz potentially as a DH situation, or they've got maneuverability, and we'll talk about that. At the end, just want to throw this out there. I forgot to mention the Dodgers' 48 two-out runs this postseason are the most in MLB history. All 6 of their runs tonight came on 2 outs. So we talk about the 2-out Rays. Well, the 2-out Dodgers have officially outdone us. Batting second, as I expected, I don't know about that. I don't want to dog the dog, as it were. Brandon Lau batting second, playing second. 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Just narrowly avoids the golden sombrero with a lazy fly ball to right for the second out in the 9th inning. I don't want to be too harsh on him. Had the 2 home run game, the first player to hit 2 opposite field home runs in a World Series game. I know Yandy Diaz had done it in the wild cards, a limited company as far as postseason play. Maybe he was getting things turned around. I was starting to buy into it, and he drops this bombshell. Strikes out looking with the base empty in the first, strikes out with the base empty in the 4th, strikes out with a man on in the 6th, and flies out to right with the base empty in the 9th. Again, only with the 5 base runners, so there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity with men on base. Although they do go 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position and leave a total of 2 men. So that's Brandon Lau for you. We'll look at inning by inning, but again, subject to the knuckle curve, I guess, in this case. And I think Buehler did get him once with a slider. The slider is down and into him. It's just forget about it. He's going to chase it. So you get nothing. And again, this is kind of my favorite game that I like to play. Meadows and Lau, who have been hitting at the top of the order throughout the postseason. Okay, 1 and 2 hitters. How are you doing? They go 1 for 8 with 4 strikeouts. That's your number 1 and 2 hitters. Don't expect to score more than 2 runs when that's the case. There you go. Arozarena batted third and left. He goes 1 for 1. 1 for 4. A run knocked in on the solo home run. 2 strikeouts. Again, it was good to see him get the home run, ties the record. I mean, 2002 Barry Bonds, that was juiced up? Really? And I know, obviously, he was probably pitched extremely carefully at that. I would imagine they probably went to the World Series as well, but definitely pitchers have had to learn how to throw to Arozarena. But he gets another home run. It was another bad pitch. Arozarena has been the king of obliterating bad pitches. I wish the rest of this lineup could do that. I mean, 97... kind of middle. It's not necessarily a bad pitch, but saw too many guys swing through it or foul it off or lazy fly balls. Arozarena crushes the pitches, and if you're going to get paid the big bucks and do this at a major league level and you're in the World Series, I believe that you should be able to do that as well, but Arozarena does do that. Strikes out to end the first, flies out to end the 4th, strikes out with a man on to end the 6th, and hits the home run in the 9th. So he was ending a lot of innings, mostly with the bases empty. Batting cleanup, G-Man Choi, hate to see it. I mean, he was plus defensively. I think he finally did a full split there in the first inning. We don't see too many of those, and had some nice plays defensively, saving some kind of crummy plays from Willy Adames at shortstop. But he goes 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. So again, I mean, just the top of the order. If I may do some quick back of napkin math. The 1 through 4 hitters combined to go 2 for 16 with 8 strikeouts. 2 for 16 with 8 strikeouts. Ouch! That's not good. Not good at all. And that to me is kind of the story of the game. Pretty much, everyone striked out at like twice almost. The top part of the order at least, which is kind of a shame. 13 total strikeouts on the night, which is it's too many. Got to put the ball in play a little more, but I know the Rays are built a specific way, and they're just going to stick with it. Manny Margot bats 5th. He goes 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Also scores a run. That was, I guess, the only true run that they scored. It was on an Adames double to left in the 5th. So that was that inning where they had a couple doubles. Looking at his at-bats, we forgot to look at Choi's. He struck out to start the 2nd, struck out to start the 5th, grounded out to start the 7th, and made the final out in the 9th. So started a lot of innings, which it seemed like the cleanup hitter for the Rays has not had a chance to bat with men on base most of the time, and as was the case here tonight. So I don't think you have to do any kind of traditional cleanup man. J-Man Choi fits well in that spot. Would also maybe like to see him in the leadoff spot as well, but I think they, if they can get Lau or Rosarena or Meadows on base, they want Choi at the plate. They don't want, I don't know, Margot or Wendell or whatever else they're going to put up there. So I get it. For Margot, we mentioned 1 for 3, 2 strikeouts. Struck out with the bases clear in the second. Doubled with the bases empty in the fifth. Struck out with 1 out in the seventh. And that was it for him. Joey Wendell, 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. He had a 3 RBI night in Game 2. So I think he's kind of, paved his way there. Flew out for the final out in the second. Struck out with a man on second in the fifth. Struck out with the base empty in the seventh. That was it. Weird to see guys only get 3 at-bats, but that was kind of the nature of the night. Adames, 1 for 3 with a run knocked in, an RBI double in the fifth. Looking at his at-bats, grounds out to start the third. RBI double in the fifth. And a fly out to center with the bases empty in the eighth. Kevin Kiermaier, 0 for 2 with a walk. Wow, he only, 3 at-bats. There you go. Walks with the bases clear in the third. Double play ball ensued by Zunino, by the way. Grounded out with a runner at second in the fifth, so he leaves a runner in scoring position and flies out to with the bases clear in the eighth. And batting ninth, Mike Zunino, 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Grounded into a double play in the third. Struck out to start the sixth. Was replaced by Yoshi Tsutsugo, who in his spot grounded out to end the eighth inning. So that's really all I can say about the lineup in particular. I mean, we'll take a look at some of the strikeouts and maybe how Walker Buehler was, I guess, setting them up. It's tough to watch. I'll say that. I mean, to anyone that hasn't usually done it, and it would depend on how much you like baseball. I would always recommend scoring the game. You can print out the scorecard. MLB released like the digital World Series program, and there's like printable scorecards. They also have a scorebook that I've been keeping for the postseason as well. It keeps you engaged. You're watching pretty much every pitch. Obviously, you mark down where the outs are made, and it also allows you to go back after, and it allows me to see a little bit better on how, I can look back and see, okay, let me go back and see every Blake Trinan matchup, because the box score on ESPN doesn't really tell you that, so I can find that sorts of information. But I struggled because it was, it was like 4-0 after 4. I mean, then it was 5-1, 6-1. It was 6-1 in the sixth. I mean, it was just pack it in. All right, Kevin Cash was he had committed to tomorrow, obviously not using the A guys, and we've seen him do that 3 or 4 times already this postseason, where it's the right move. It seems like definitely over managing to be like, all right, we're gonna do Castillo, Fairbanks, let's keep this a 4 or 5 run game. No, just pitch the guys that you don't need, because basically you are playing for tomorrow, and if you don't have those guys, then why you doing that? So it's frustrating to watch because it's almost like the manager is giving up mid-game, and he essentially is. But again, I mean, these are all major league pitchers. The best bullpen probably in the American League, if not all of the majors. So even the B guys, if you will. I know they're more like 1A than they are B. I mean, guys that can really get guys out. But my point that I was trying to make is just the watchability in this game was not great, and we've talked about that. We had a caller, they called a couple of times just saying how interesting this World Series has been, and this is an interesting World Series, but tonight was just kind of a tough watch for sure. I believe that's it. That's all we've got with the box score. Again, 1 for 3 with runners in scoring position. Kiermaier and Wendell both go 0 for 1. Kiermaier grounded out with a man on second. Joey Wendell struck out with that same exact man on... No, different man on second, but in the same inning. Basically same situation. And then Adames, 1 for 1 with runners in scoring position, gets that RBI double. They leave 2 men on base, which is kind of wild. They get 5 base runners and only leave 2 of them. But there was a double play ball and some of that other stuff as well. So There you go. That's 2 runs. That's where it comes from. A garbage time homer for Arozarena that I think was more meaningful than if anyone else had hit it, and maybe gives you a good idea going into tomorrow, because I think his last 6 or so at bats had not been so good, so he gets back on the board. Sometimes you just got to crush a bad pitch. There you go. Also, as of 12 minutes ago, I apologize for my tardiness on this. Yarbrough is going to start outright. I think that was pretty telling when Cash brought in Ryan Thompson, because if Yarbrough was going to come in behind an opener, it would probably be Ryan Thompson. And as Dave Wills was saying on the broadcast, why would you want the Dodgers to get a look at Ryan Thompson if he's going to open? Kind of defeats the purpose. The men that he faced, if I can get this correct, he faced Kike Hernandez, Austin Barnes, the 8-9 hitters. But he did face Mookie Betts, and he's going to be leading off tomorrow, so maybe you don't want him to get another look. I mean, Ryan Thompson, not that he's easy to figure out, but, good hitters like that, like Mookie Betts, once you see him once, you pretty much know what he is. You take some of those pitches. He's a sidewinding righty that, just throws mostly sliders. So, I don't know. He may come in tomorrow behind Yarbrough. I don't know exactly how long Yarbs would go, because we'll talk about it. I already mentioned it. I know. I need to stop getting ahead of myself. Let's do inning by inning first. And before we do that, I just wanted to remind anyone listening, number to call if you want, obviously, 877-566-1020 with you, maybe 15, 30 minutes here on this early Saturday morning. Rays post-game live, if you will. Rays lose 6-2 to the Dodgers in Game 3. They are now down in the series 2-1. Top of the first, Charlie Morton on the mound, ground Chuck. Again, all the talk about him being one of the best pitchers in postseason history. Had not lost a postseason game since... No, that wasn't right. That graphic wasn't right. They said Game 7 of the ALCS against the Yankees. And no, that's not right, because they won that game. So, I don't know. Either way, Morton has not lost a postseason game in a long, long time. Actually, it's going to bug me. I got to find out. I apologize. For live listeners, it's not, I don't know, not necessarily captivating radio, but it's been a long time, because I know he was 3-1 going into this. The win against the Yanks, the 2 wins against the Astros. Last year, we know what he did. The win against Oakland and the win against Houston in Game 3. 2018, took a loss. No, that was a no decision against the Red Sox. Okay, it was. Okay, it just wasn't Game 7, but it was in the ALCS in 2017. 3 2/3 of 7 runs. So that was basically his worst postseason start since that game, I would say. So there you go, just in case you were as curious as I was. Probably one of the worst starts. I mean, for everything that went into it, easy to say that this was the worst start for Morton as a Tampa Bay Ray. Could potentially be his last as well. I spent a good time of this game thinking about that. If I had to put a number on it, I would say I'll give it a 30% chance that was Morton's last game pitched in a Ray uniform. The only way that he would come back up in this World Series is if it goes probably to a Game 7 or any potential like Game 6, I guess, of him in relief if, they're up. But I don't know the likelihood of that. By no means am I predicting the Rays are going to lose this series, but I don't know the likelihood of it going 7. I mean, we'll see. And if it doesn't go 7 and he does not appear, who knows if he'll be with the team next year. It's a team option for $15 million. You telling me they're going to pay a 37-year-old pitcher $15 million? I mean, they paid a 35 and a 36-year-old that, so maybe they'd pay a 37-year-old that. But this is not the same Charlie Morton, I would say, as he was in 2019, and I know that's a bit controversial to say because of the greatness that he has in this postseason, and it will always be remembered in this weird Corona 2020 Rays season. Charlie Morton's postseason heroics play a big role in that. The 1 start against the Yankees, but it was a big start, I think, at that point. And the Game 7 start against Houston, I think, second Game 7 in team history. And what he did But either way, did not have a particularly great regular season, was injured for a good part of it. So that's something to take into consideration, certainly. And I don't know. I don't know if he's worth $15 million. I've talked about it, and I don't want to bore you with the money stuff, but pretty much every team's going to be losing revenue. The commissioner, Rob Manfred, mentioned it. He had also made a comment without really saying it that the free agent market is going to be stagnant just because teams are going to be cutting down on budget. It was very crucial that they got this postseason through. They haven't had a positive COVID test in like 2 months. Credit to them for maneuvering this without going in a bubble in the regular season, which that was really their only option. I don't understand people that said they could have gone bubble in a regular season. Give me a break. There's 30 teams. You can't do that. This is too much. Either way, the Rays are going to have less money. They could afford him, but I mean, especially because I think they're probably going to move on from Kiermaier. That's my take. I don't know. There was a reason why they traded for Brett Phillips. I know Vidal Brujan didn't really fit in the infield. There was a logjam there, but Vidal Brujan's a good prospect. Rays typically don't give up good prospects for nothing. They give up Matthew Libator. What do they get in return? A Rosarena. So try and kind of follow the math there. We haven't really seen him a lot. He's played a handful of times that I can count in center field this year. They didn't give him the audition that I had expected. Has played a limited role in postseason, but I think they brought him in to be KK's replacement in center field, and I think Kiermaier's on the books for like 10 or 11 million next year. So they trade him. You could easily afford Morton, but with $15 million, if you decline the team option, you could potentially sign Morton for less because Morton lives in the Bradenton area and he wants to stay here. He had mentioned when he signed this contract that this was his last one. Now, things might have changed because of the shortened season, and maybe he feels better about his body than he thought he would have, whatever. But he wants to stay in this area, so he would take a hometown pay cut, I would imagine. By how much? I don't know. Can you get him for 7? Can you get him for 8? I don't think the Rays are going to want to pay him 15 if they don't have to. But if you let him walk, you could probably pick up 3 or 4 good players for that $15 million, or Stu, as he is one to do, will just pocket the $15 million. Oh, I'll just cut it out of payroll. I'll keep the money to myself instead of paying him. He's thinking fans aren't going to come out anyway, which if I don't know. I think it's naive to think there will be full attendance, at least to the start of next year. I don't want to get too deep into the weeds of that. I guess kind of the pace at which this is going. You may only see 10,000 capacity open. I'm not making a Rays joke. This isn't being sarcastic, but that's kind of the average attendance anyway at Tropicana Field is about 10,000. So even if they go limited capacity, I mean, I don't know. It may not matter with ticket sales all that much, but just look at it from that standpoint. You know, just my 2 cents in about 3 or 4 minutes, however long I spent on it with Morton, because this may be the last time that I'm talking about a Charlie Morton start, and I think that deserves a little bit of time because, I don't know, I would love to be able to talk about a Game 7 where Morton dominates against the Dodgers again like he did just 2 or 3 seasons ago. I don't know. We may see it again. 30% chance this was his last game. So that means between Game 7 and the Rays bringing him back in some capacity, whether they pay him the 15, whether they pay him less, so that 70% we may see him again. Talking it out, I feel less likely about it. But because Charlie Morton played the card of, I'll go to any team that wants to have me. I would be so honored to have the Rays pick up my option, blah, blah, blah. I think he knows his agent probably told him you're not going to get $15 million next year, because I can tell you one thing. If the Rays don't pick up his option, nobody's paying him $15 million, I don't think. Teams will always overpay, but like I said, revenue is down. Why would teams, again, when the commissioner of baseball basically tells you that the free agent market is going to be stagnant, I don't know what other sign that you need to see. Teams are just going to be spending that kind of money next year because it's money they don't have. Again, that's how it works. When Stu Sternberg makes a profit, the payroll goes up a little bit. When he loses money, which I don't think he has lost money, even if he says he has, the payroll goes down a little bit, or they'll just cut payroll. They'll trade guys, whatever, like they did in 2018. I think that was kind of a strategy thing as well, but it's business as well. So, just to make a long story longer, And that may help the Rays, too. The fact that, I don't know, the Yankees, they need starters, I think. I mean, guys will be back. They've got Debbie Garcia now, Nick Nelson. They may not. But, I mean, the Yankees, with their $120 million payroll, may pay him $15 million, because what is 15? They paid, like, J. Happ, like, $13 million or something like that. And I think Charlie Morton is, like, 10 times better than J. Happ, to be honest with you. So who knows? I mean, I can't think of another team that's super high payroll that would want to spend that, but you get the idea. But again, he probably wants to stay in Bradenton. He's 37. He's got a wife. He's got kids. He said that that's why he signed with the Rays. Not necessarily because, I mean, they did end up being a contender. They won 90 games the season prior to him signing, but it was a bigger deal to him staying in the area. You can stay in your house that you own during homestands. You don't have to, like, rent a house somewhere else, whatever. I think I started this 5 minutes ago. Top of the first, Morton on the mound. Betts to lead off. 5-pitch at bat, grounds to shortstop. He went sinker, cutter, sinker, cutter, sinker. The sinker was reaching 96 there early. Caught one that got a lot of the plate, but he grounds out to shortstop. It was a tremendous play as well from Adames to get the ball over to Choi. Throw was a little bit off. I think that was the one where Choi did the full split. That was kind of fun to watch. One away. Then Seager comes up. The lefty on righty there. Starts him off 0-2. A couple fastballs. Curveball taken outside. Curveball taken inside. And then a cutter at 87 high. Flies out to left. 2 outs. Base is empty. Justin Turner on a 1-2 count. Fastball, middle up. 397 feet to left. 1-0 Dodgers. An easy pitch to hit at 94. I think the radio broadcast, the gun that they were looking at had it coming up at 93, which it's a 4-seam fastball, mind you, and I know it has movement, but it's not a cutter. It's a fastball. At 93, middle up. Middle almost would have been better, because that's probably a line drive somewhere for a double, but middle up, get the bat underneath that thing and get it out. And Justin Turner did. 1-0 Dodgers. Muncy infield single. It was a curveball, down and in. I mean, a good pitch. Just hits it right to Morton, but right at his feet. It just caroms away. Infield single, okay, and then strikes out. Will Smith in 3 pitches. Another curveball down the middle. Or I guess that was the first of which, and the Dodgers really touched him up on that. Okay, so bottom of the first, our first look at Walker Buehler. A 1-1 count to Meadows. Gets a couple fastballs. Then it gives him the knuckle curve, but it was like middle away. Grounds out to first. Makes sense there. I think that I guess that he pulls it. It's a little bit odd. That's a pitch maybe hit the opposite way, but 1 out. Then Brandon Lau starts off 2-0, takes a couple of fastballs outside, and didn't take the bat off the shoulder the rest of the way. Took a fastball, 2-2 count, takes a curveball. I'll give him credit for not chasing a pitch, but it's almost like he's overreacting to his own stuff. Oh my gosh, you can't chase at a pitch. I'm just going to take everyone. 5-pitch at bat. The bat does not come off the shoulder. Okay, 2 away. Then Arozarena strikes out swinging. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. 3 pitches. Couple sliders as well. Swings at both of them. Down and in, basically. Or down and away, actually. 1, 2, 3. First inning, 10-pitch inning for Walker Buehler. It was a 22-pitch inning in the first for Charlie Morton. Top of the second, Morton responds with a 1-2-3. Bellinger flies out to the left on a first pitch fastball, middle. Strikes out Chris Taylor. It's a curveball down in the dirt. Got him to swing. There you go. And then Jock Peterson on a fastball, middle up again. Grounds at the second base. Bottom of the second, Buehler gets another 1-2-3. Choi strikes out. He takes a fastball low and away. Interesting at bat for him there. Margot swings at all 3 pitches, strikes out in 3 pitches. All fastballs, all in the zone. Just blew him away. I think Walker Buehler knew he could beat Margot with 97-98, and he did. Wendell fouls off a couple of fastballs, then flies out to left on a fastball. Another 1-2-3 inning. At the end of 2, 1-0 Dodgers. Top of the third, Morton on the mound. Strikes out the first 2 he sees. The catcher, Austin Barnes, gets him looking on a curveball. This is not bad. A couple sinkers gets you to 1-1. Then you get him to chase one down and away. Then you give him a curveball, basically the same spot, but more in the zone. He takes it. Strike 3 called. Nice. 1 away. Then Mookie Betts. You get him to chase a curveball down and away as well. So the curveball was actually working pretty nicely at that point in the game. 2 away, bases empty. Thinking he's in a pretty good spot. As Morton is one to do. Hits Corey Seager with a pitch. Just a splitter. Well, I guess not quite. It's usually a fastball that runs up and into righties. But it was a splitter that just ran way into the lefty. Okay, puts a man on with 2 outs. Then Justin Turner starts him off 0-2, by the way. Then on a curveball that's kind of middle-ish, doubles to left. Second and third, 2 outs. And this is where we can talk about strategy all day long. Again, I think I said this yesterday. Kevin Cash will forget more baseball than any of us will ever learn, just meaning that he's just light years ahead of us. We should never question anything that he does, should never question the front office. They get paid millions. We get paid nothing to watch the games and talk about it, myself included. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying that's the reality, and also a disclaimer for what I'm about to say. I personally would have liked to see Morton walk Muncy and get to Will Smith. He had blown Will Smith away in the first. Let's just take a look at that at bat once again. I did not set that up. Great. Okay, yeah, it was 3 pitches. Swing and a miss on a cutter. Takes a sinker. Swings and misses at a curveball middle. I mean, just couldn't touch it. Okay. 3rd inning, it's a 1-0 game. You got runners at second and third. You got Max Muncy, a guy who hit an infield single off of you, so maybe you feel okay about him. But wait, is that right? Yeah, Max Muncy's a good hitter. I mean, there's a reason he's at the top of the order. There's a reason why he's a cleanup man for the National League pennant Los Angeles Dodgers. I would have just liked to see him. I understand it loads the bases, but it's with 2 outs. It's early in a 1-0 game. That's why you don't do it. You just try and face the men. He did pitch around Muncy a little bit. Cutter outside. Swing and a miss, strike 1. Curveball outside, taken. Curveball outside, taken. Fastball outside, taken. It's 3-1. I'm like, okay, just walk him. He's pitching around him, okay. Cutter fouled off. It's full. Okay, maybe you punch him out, get out of this inning. That's 1-0. Okay, good. No, it's a cutter, middle. 2 RBI single. It's 3-0 Dodgers, and I think you could kind of feel where the game was going at that point. And then, of course, Will Smith ends up flying out. He fouls off a sinker and a cutter, just like he basically, did in the first at-bat, and then flew out on a curveball kind of low. I would have liked to see him walk Muncy to get to Smith. Maybe he was trying to, and then the count worked full, so he tried to get him. I don't know. I don't get it. Oh, I do. I do get it. You don't want to load the bases early in the game. It's only 1-0, just trying to get Muncy, but would have liked to see him get to Smith. We know about the butterfly effect. Maybe this game goes differently. Again, you don't pin it on any one decision like that. 36-year-old Charlie Morton, that's probably his call. I don't know exactly inside baseball. I mean, Mike Zunino, of course, putting the signs down, has a play in that. Kevin Cash at any time could have put up the 4 fingers and walked him. With 2 outs, you probably don't, because if you pitch around him, pitches outside the zone, if contact is made, it's probably not going to be a base hit. It's probably going to be a grounder in the infield or a weak fly ball. So with 2 outs, Morton knows the situation. You pitch outside, try and get weak contact. But as was the theme of the start, it was a pitch on 3-2, a cutter, middle, a pitch at 88 miles an hour as well. Middle. I know it has movement, but there's a reason why, he's batting 4th. He's a great hitter, Max Muncy is, for the Dodgers. 2 RBI single. There you go, 3-0 after 3. Bottom of the 3rd, actually, Walker Buehler faces the minimum, essentially, through 3 the first time through the order. Adames grounds out to 3rd to start off. Then Kiermaier works a walk, an 8-pitch at-bat. There we go. First base runner in the 3rd inning. It's 3-0. Let's get this thing back on track. Not a whole lot to say. Took a lot of pretty bad pitches, I guess. It was a cutter, questionable call, maybe high, but glad that he walked. There was as well a pitch. It was a fastball, kind of middle-ish at 97. He almost hit a line drive home run, but it was just foul. Would have been great to see him hit another World Series home run. He's kind of taken on this Evan Longoria role. I kind of like it, to be honest with you. Well, Longoria was a rookie in 2008, but it's a little bit different, but the vibe is the same. With Kiermaier at first with one out, Zunino, and this is kind of something I had in my head that I want to talk about. Two decisions made in the third inning that I didn't love. With Zunino, I don't even know what I was going to think. I mean, what else do you do? Zunino, or no, okay, gotcha. I would add Kiermaier steal, at least to try and get around the double play. I was thinking, what are you going to do with Zunino? No, you can't do anything with him, but you can at least have Kiermaier run. You're down 3-0. You have a man, your first base runner with only one out. I understand. The lineup is going to turn back over to Meadows and Lau, so you don't want to kind of just get it out on the base path there. But I was like, as soon as Kiermaier walks and Zunino comes to the plate, I'm thinking, okay, Buehler's dealing double play to Zunino. I can envision it. And it's a slider in the zone, but just weak contact made. Not going to kill Zunino. He is what he is. We shouldn't be mad at him. Again, he's a guy that runs into fastballs kind of up and away. He'll chase them as well, but if it's left too much in the zone, he'll crush it. He's a strong guy, but he can't go down and get pitches, and he can't go far out and get pitches either. That's what he is. I know a lot was made about his postseason quote-unquote heroics. He crushes bad pitches, and okay, that's good. I like kind of contact hitting catchers, but I know kind of the Zunino, I think, was a early first-round pick. He's, a guy that is a good defensive catcher and a power hitter. I understand that kind of archetype is one that you want. Most power hitter catchers aren't good defensively, like Wilson Ramos, Gary Sanchez, the two New York catchers. So, yeah, I understand, not to go too far off, but I was just imagining double play. I mean, Walker Buehler's smart. He knows how to get guys out, and he did his game plan. So Zunino grounds it to a double play. Buehler faces the minimum through 3. At the end of 3, by the way, 3-0 Dodgers. Top of the 4th, Morton slugging through things. By the way, his second inning was only 8 pitches, by the way, 1, 2, 3, which is pretty nice. Am I looking at the right thing? Or his third inning was like 20 pitches. Also, I forgot to mention. Bellinger starts off, singles to right center on a 1-1 count, a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. I know when I say middle, it could be a little up, a little away, a little down, a little in. This was middle, right down the heart. At 93, Bellinger, an MVP winner, singles to right. Okay, to start the inning, we kind of knew what the score was. We knew how this game was going to end up. He gets Taylor in 3 pitches, chase and a curveball actually in the zone for 1 out. Then Jock Peterson singles. It was just a curveball. I guess that wasn't far out enough the zone, but also credit to Jock Peterson for singling off that pitch. Again, it's a really great pitch, is curveball, even I guess when it's not quote-unquote on. Runners at the corners with 1 out. And they do the old Joe Madden runners at the corners sack play. The catcher, Barnes, I guess Morton knew he was going to bunt. He gave him 2 sinkers up and away. I guess that's what you want. Well, it's a safety squeeze, so why would you want to pitch him away? I don't necessarily get that. I would imagine you would want to pitch him in, but either way. Routine bunt. Smartly take the out at first. That was the only out to be made. Bellinger scores. Peterson to second. So you move a runner in a scoring position as well. 4-0 Dodgers, 2 out. Runner at second. Mookie Betts comes up. Starts him off 0-2. Couple curveballs. Okay. Then he takes a bunch of pitches. Sinker down and in, but not great. Singles to center field. 5-0 LA. Then gets Betts, by the way, still second. It's Mookie Betts' world, and we're living in it. I think he already got the payday. I don't know what he's trying to prove to anybody, but every time he does it, he's got the big grin on his face. It's like he knows he can steal second, and no one's going to do anything about it, so he's just going to swipe the bag every time. the free tacos, whatever that Taco Bell is doing, and he tweeted about it. Whatever. Betts steals. He singled in his next at bat and stole another base as well. Like, he's not fooling anybody either way. Another runner at second base. Oh, great. Another single would make it 6-0. Gets Seager to ground out. Okay, fine. At the end of 4, basically 5-0 LA. Game's over at that point. They're not going to score that many runs off of Buehler, even if they can get to the bullpen, which took them way too long to do either way. Bottom of the 4th, Buehler gets another 1-2-3. I was going to make a fair Buehler's day off joke. The Buehler, but he played well. I can't even think of anything to joke about. That is one of my favorite movies, by the way. If you haven't seen it, doing yourself a disservice. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, fantastic film. I know he did that Players' Day weekend. It was a joke at Jersey. Anyway, start the 4th, back at the top of the order. Meadows works it good at bat again. 7 pitches, lines out on a fastball, lines out to center. Okay, good hit ball. I think Dave Will said the best hit baseball off Buehler of the day. Then Brandon Lau strikes out. Fouls off a fastball, middle. Lau, can you please stop fouling those off? Can you put him in the seats? He did yesterday. Okay, he didn't tonight. Whatever. Then takes a curveball. A borderline pitch. Not going to kill him. I understand he's not trying to chase, I guess, anymore. Then fouls off another fastball up and in. That's what they always say. Fastballs up and into lefties. They love that pitch. Fouls it away. Okay. I mean, he bit at it. Fine. But fouls it off. 0-2 count. Knuckle curve down and in. Swing and a miss. That's the Brandon Lau special. Fouls off pitches that he should be able to crush. And chases pitches that he should take. That's where we're at with him right now, I think. Arozarena, base is empty. 96, fastball well outside the zone. I don't know, 1 count. Is aggressive. And his pitch is a fastball, so he gets one. So he bites at it. 1-2-3 inning. Bottom of the 4th, 5-0 Dodgers. Top of the 5th, Morton comes on, I guess, to face a couple men. Justin Turner strikes out. Okay, then you walk Max Muncy. Just didn't have it. Pitches weren't fine in the zone. Muncy was more than happy to take. Then you take him out. Morton comes out. Curtis comes in. I already said the line a couple times, but Morton takes the loss, his first postseason loss since 2017, an ALCS game against the Yankees. 4 1/3, 5 runs on 7 hits, a walk, 6 strikeouts, 91 pitches, 58 strikes. Again, we won't see him unless there is a Game 7. Most likely. Always see him in relief, whatever. John Curtis comes in with the man on first, gets Will Smith to fly out, then strikes out Bellinger. Okay. Bottom of the 5th against Buehler. Choi strikes out. Just swings through a fastball in the zone. Hate to see it. I don't know. Just takes... I hate seeing that. Rays hitters just taking strike 1 down the heart. Dodgers know it. They know they can get it by. I was looking at Buehler's stats, and it's just when he gets strike 1 over. I guess his numbers were actually kind of split. Whether they take strike 1 or they swing, the batting average is about the same. But he was getting those. Anytime it's an automatic 0-1, in most cases 0-2 against a hitter, you're gonna deal. You're gonna do well. So Choi strikes out, but the Rays offense does get a little bit cooking. Maybe thought they could turn it around. Margot double breaks up the no-hitter after 4 1/3 innings played. Fastball, middle in, doubles. Wendell strikes out with a man at second. Adames doubles as well on an 0-2 count. Foul. Then doubles. It was a slider kind of middle down, which is a bit strange. Good contact. 5-1 Dodgers. Then Kiermaier grounds out to first, as he's one to do, make contact with the first pitch. It's a decent pitch to hit. A cutter at 92, again middle down, just grounds out to first, kind of rolls over on it. It's a pull with the lefty. At the end of 5, Rays get on the board. It's 5-1 Dodgers. Top of the 6th, John Curtis remains on, strikes out Chris Taylor, gets Jock Peterson to pop out. Then Austin Barnes, he's been playing postseason games since 2017, finally gets his first postseason hit. absolutely demolishes it. Takes a couple sliders. Ugh, I hate seeing these at-bats. I don't understand. Takes a fastball, middle, strike one. Takes a fastball up and away in the zone, strike two. Slider, way more middle. Again, sometimes it could be a little in one direction. I'll say middle. This one is middle, 89. Austin Barnes, booyah. 425 to dead center. 6-1 LA. Mookie Betts singles, and as he is one to do, steals second. Seager walks, so nulligates it. I guess just funny to see, like, screw you, Betts, didn't even matter. Seager walks, a couple men on, 6-1 game, doesn't matter anyway. Justin Turner lines out to center. Bottom of the sixth, Buehler gets Zanino to strike out easily. Takes a fastball, fouls off a slider, swings through a fastball, middle of the plate. It's the third or fourth time that's happened. Whatever. Meadows singles. So there you go. Get a base runner. Knuckle curve. Up and away. Man on first. Lau strikes out. Swings through fastballs. Up and away. Takes a couple pitches. 2-2. Swings through a fastball. Up and away. Arozarena. A man on. 2 outs. He strikes out as well. There's a curveball down and away. He chased. At the end of 6-1 LA. Top of the seventh. Ryan Sheriff comes on. His first postseason appearance. Happens to be his first World Series appearance as well. A great story, by the way, as well. I talked about him, I think, when he first came up with the Rays. Just a great story. I mean, really a grinder. Adam Wainwright bought him a car because he was walking like a couple miles to the spring training facility for the Cardinals every day from the host home or whatever. That's also a good Adam Wainwright story as well, but just a big perseverance story for Sheriff. Pitches in the World Series. Like to see that, especially in a 6-1 game. Let's get the narratives cooking. Muncy strikes him out. He hasn't pitched in almost a full calendar month, and he strikes out Max Muncy? Lefty on lefty? Okay, I see you. All sinkers, sliders. Okay, he's working it. Walks Will Smith. 4 pitches. Sinker sliders is only 2 pitches, by the way. Gets Bellinger to ground out. Moves Smith to second. 2 outs. Then gets Chris Taylor. So there you go. That was his inning pitched. Good for Sheriff, man. His playoff ERA is 000. Bottom of the seventh. Blake Trinan on. One of their 8 guys in a 6-1 game. I think they just wanted to get him some action, to be honest. Hadn't pitched in almost a week. I think almost a full calendar week. Because game 7 was on Saturday. I don't know if I don't know. Something like that, I think. Another 1-2-3 inning. I want to count. Rays had 1 in the first, second, third, fourth, 7th, 8th, and 9th. How many was that? Basically, they had 2 innings where they didn't go down 1-2-3. I understand the 4 base runners. That doesn't take a genius to figure that out. They're going down in order almost every inning. It's insane. It seems like I just get madder and madder as I do these. Choi grounds out. We'll just blaze through them. Margot strikes out. Wendell strikes out. There you go. Bottom of the 7th. 6-1 Dodgers. Top of the 8th. Kike pitches for Jock Peterson. Thompson on, by the way. I don't know why they did that. Could have had him open, whatever. I don't know what their plan was. Maybe they wanted Yarps to start out right either way. Strikes out Kike. Gets Barnes to ground out. Not grind out. This isn't a rave. Mookie Betts grounds out to shortstop. So there you go. You got Betts as well. That's pretty nice to see. Bottom of the 8th against Brusdar Gratterall. He throws like 102. I think that was the guy that like chucked his glove after he finished like a 7th inning because Cody Bellinger robbed a home run. Everyone was like, "Why are you throwing your glove?" That's when you get a save to like close the series. You don't do that to end the 7th. Either way, that might not even be the right guy. Just a disclaimer. I don't know. The Dodgers have a lot of relievers that are kind of the same. They all throw 102. And they all are just young as well, so they're kind of hotheads a little bit. Dustin May, those kind of guys. Other way, Gratterall, Adames to ground out, Kiermaier to fly out, Yoshi hits for Zanino, and he grounds out to second base as well. Interesting matchup because he doesn't do well against velocity. Takes 102 high, gets 100 down the pipe, grounds out. Just timing is off. That's okay. Bottom 8, Dodgers up 6-1. Top of the 9th, McClanahan comes on his first World Series appearance. Hopefully many more for him, whether he's a starter or a reliever, what have you. Corey Seager, leadoff single, 10-pitch at-bat. Ouch. Worked the slider as well. I know he's kind of a fastballer right now, but working the slider. Turner lines out, 8-pitch at-bat. Threw him 7 fastballs there. High pitch count. And this is just a point I wanted to make. 2 foul balls and an 8-pitch at-bat. 4 foul balls and a 10-pitch at-bat. I guess it's good that he has control. 100-mile-an-hour fastball is not going to be enough, especially if he's a reliever, because guys may not be able to get hits off of it, but you can't have 10-pitch at-bats against every guy. I mean, that's my concern from him right now. It's just he's going to have 100 foul balls in if he starts, or 20 foul balls if he comes on in relief. He can't get out sufficiently. And I get it. You can throw fastballs down the pipe at 100. No one's going to get a hit off of it, but you're not going to be able to get through guys. So I don't know exactly what the solution to that is. That's just my thoughts on McClanahan right now. I don't know. We won't see him to start the year, I can tell you, because they want him to be a starter, and the Rays rotation is probably set anyway. Maybe. It depends. But this is a David Price thing. David Price came on in the playoffs in 2008, and he didn't start the season with the major league team in 2009. He still went back to the minors because they wanted him to be a starter. He needs a little bit more work. So he gets playing time in the World Series. There you go. That's kind of cool, I guess, for him. Something to hold on to. Also, I guess when he makes his first major league start or whatever the case is, the moment's not too big in front of 10,000 in the Tropicana Field or whatever the case, because he pitched in a World Series game. So I don't know. Maybe they're out in front. 7-pitch at-bat to Muncy. He flies out to left. And then a 1-pitch at-bat to, you think I learned the names by now, Will Smith flies out to center field. Bottom of the 9th. Last call for the Rays. Kenley Jansen, the closer on for L.A. Meadows strikes out. I'm just going to, I'll do a deep dive. Just 3-pitch at-bat. Takes a cutter. Takes a sinker, middle. Stop doing that, please. Strike 3, swings and misses at a sinker up and away. Not a good at-bat for him. Lau flies out to right. Takes a cutter, up and in. Thought lefties liked those. Takes a sinker, middle. Stop doing that. Flies out on a sinker up and away. 2 outs. Bases empty. Last call, really, for the Rays. Full count to a Rosarena. 93. Down the pipe. What do you think a Rosarena does with that? 397. Down the left field line. Ties the major league postseason home run record at 8. Breaks the rookie record in the postseason for hits with 23. A big momentous hit for him in a spot that wasn't as quite momentous, but very good for him. Like to see that. 6-2 Rays. Choi lines out to left to end the game. Again, Rays lose 6-2. Dodgers take a 2-1 series lead. Series not over by any means, obviously. Even if the Rays lose tomorrow, series still not over. That would be a very LA thing to blow a 3-1 lead. I don't know. I could kind of see that happening. But I would prefer the Dodgers not to have a 3-1 lead. I would prefer the series tomorrow to be tied 2 games apiece. You can only take it one day at a time. At least right now, the series will not be won or lost tomorrow. So you just got to go out there and do your thing. They won't do this, but Rays, can you stop taking pitches down the middle? They did better about chasing. I mean, every team chases. I know I can be a bit hypercritical, and I know if you put me in a batter's box, I would be blown away by probably 45 miles an hour. So I can't. Well, I don't know. That isn't that what sports broadcasting is? It's unathletic men critiquing men much more athletic than themselves. I don't know. It's just the nature of the biz, I suppose. We can never play baseball, but yet we can. I'm not saying anyone listening, but myself. But yet I can critique Major League Baseball players. That's just the way that it goes. But I don't know. And Dave Wills and the radio has been talking about this as well. It's just that's not a World Series team, and I was very negative about this after Game 1. You get fastballs, sinkers, cutters, whatever, middle of the plate. And I know I can be a little lenient on middle. I'm looking at a tiny pitch chart on ESPN, by the way, as well. So it may not be 100% accurate. But if it's close, I mean, pitches that Morton was getting crushed on, pitches that catch a lot of the plate, the Rays have been taking them for strikes, or they've been fouling them away, or weak rollover contact. Meanwhile, their opponent has been crushing it with, multiple hits in an inning. They had 10 hits tonight. Rays could have easily had 10 hits tonight. They just, it's not runners in scoring position or anything like that. But to me, not making them pay on those pitches is leaving meat on the bone. It just won't show up in the stat sheet. So that's my final word. You want to know why the Rays lost? There it is. You won't find it really from anybody that talks about the game. I don't know, Neil's post-game or Fox Sports Sun. If they covered that, that's the reality. I'm sure a lot was said about Charlie Morton's start. It wasn't great, but it was Charlie Morton. I mean, it was a 3-pitch mix. The pitches did not quite have Charlie Morton movement, so I suppose that a bit negates my point. But the curveball was there. Fastball and cutter, not as much. He got drilled. It's going to happen. He's 36. But we thought he was going to just have a 0 ERA in the playoffs all the way through. That's a bit naive, I suppose, and I was buying into that as well. I got sucked in. But I'm a big sucker for guys like Morton who are okay with contact off of them because more times than not, it's weak contact. They trust your defense. I'm not as big on guys like Blake Snell who want to strike everyone out. I had him do an interview with Fox where we can't judge anyone's character if we don't know the person. All we do is listen to them do quick interviews and stuff like that. But he just made a comment that rubbed me a bit the wrong way. He was just saying, he's like, I want the team to enjoy the moment, but I want this to be my moment too. And to me, I'm just like, okay, if that's what he thinks his moment is. He wants to strike out 10 or 15 in a World Series game. Okay, fine. I guess if that's your prerogative, whatever. Again, that's Blake Snell. Also, by the way, that first inning play where G-Man Choi did the full split, that's number 1 on SportsCenter top 10 tonight. That's pretty neat. Choi's butt was on the dirt. That's how full of a split it was. Love that. But either way, Morton did his thing, and you lose. Again, I mean, I'm okay with that. If you have a game plan and you pitch with conviction and you get beat, fine. It just doesn't work. But I don't as much appreciate lackadaisical, get to 0-2, let me throw a pitch 15 feet in the dirt, non-competitive, whatever. I respect what Morton did tonight, and it didn't work. But he fought through it, got through 4 1/3. And by no means was it a good start. People are applauding, and I know earned runs, the final stat line was different, but Blake Snell pitches 4 2/3, and everyone is like, oh my gosh, Blake Snell, strikeouts, blah, blah, blah. Morton throws 4 1/3, and it's like, oh man, Morton, what happened tonight? Whatever. That's it. One of the longer shows at this point I've done, about an hour and a half. Although I think I don't remember when, but I think I've done a 3-hour program. That was back when we did all sports, baseball, basketball, hockey, football, whatever the case. Miss those days, although this has been a fun ride as well, soaking it all up. I mean, I'd imagine I'll be doing this next year as well, at least in some capacity. I'm at Florida State, so I may be covering FSU baseball in some capacity as well. I don't know to what extent. The Rays are obviously more accessible. All the games are televised. I can get the radio broadcast anywhere. A wider listener base. More people care about the Rays. So I may be back doing this. I would love to do this. I love watching the Rays every night, as I would do anyway, and I love coming to the mic with my scorebook and my box score and chatting Rays. We have People call in, and that's really been a delight. That's been one of my favorite things. Really towards the back half of this year, we've started to get some callers, people that we've made some real connections with as well. And anyone that's listening to this, and you know who you are. I don't want I do call you by name sometimes, but I don't want to invade you too much. But I appreciate. We do have loyal listeners. We do have loyal callers, and to all those people, appreciate it. Helps me keep doing what I'm doing. I don't know really how many people listen, but it's good practice for me. I try and make good content for anyone that wants to listen. I think if anything, I'm probably subscribed to 2 or 3 different Rays podcasts. I consume it every day. And I'm not going to name names because that's unprofessional. But I listen to guys that cover the Rays, that do podcasts, and maybe that's going too far. But I'm just like, this is bozo stuff. I mean, it's nonsensical. I can tell when they're talking that they didn't watch the whole game. They just looked at the box score or whatever. They're not paying attention. They don't know what goes into it. At least me, I'm not a pro yet. I'm not necessarily a baseball expert, but I pay attention. And I know what's going on, and at the very least, I give you a perspective that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. Because I make points that I think are good points, and I'm listening to 3 different things the next day, and no one makes the point. And I'm like, well, were you watching the game? Whatever. And I'm not trying to slam anybody. I'm not trying to say I'm better than necessarily anybody else, but I'm just saying, if anything else, value I provide for this show is at least you're not going to hear most of this stuff anywhere else. Not that I have insider information or anything like that, but it's amazing. If you, all you got to do is pay attention and just watch, and you'll learn stuff. I mean, one of my, I guess, best things is you pay attention to Kevin Cash. You can kind of predict what he's going to do, or you can explain why he did certain things. Because I see people all the time, oh my gosh, why did Cash make this move? He's over managing. Oh, it's the numbers, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, no, this is why, and this is why it makes sense. Just because it didn't work doesn't mean it's a bad move. Rarely does Kevin Cash make a move that just doesn't make sense. And really, the only thing that matters, if it makes sense to Kevin Cash, it's good enough. And he doesn't give a damn what the rest of us think, as he shouldn't. But that's it. I don't know why I do this sometimes. Just take a couple minutes, just, I'll have all these stored somewhere, so some of it is for my, I guess, my listening pleasure down the line as well, or if I give this tape to potential employers, whatever the case, a good audition tape, I suppose, and nice to have those kind of moments. With that being said, the last thing we have to do, we'll be on tomorrow after Game 4. It will be officially now another Battle of Southpaws. Believe what, the second? Did we get? Blake Snell was against a righty, though. I was going to say another Battle of Southpaws, but no, it's the first of the series. Probably has not happened a lot in World Series history, I'd imagine. 2 lefties going against each other. It will be at 8:08 on Fox. The lefty Ryan Yarbrough against the lefty Julio Urias. So let's take a bit of a deep dive into those. I know Yarbs pitched in Game 1. We'll take a look at him first. In the regular season, he was 1-4 with a 3.56 ERA. His postseason stats, he is, notice, he's 1-0 in the postseason. 10 2/3 innings pitched to the tune of a 3.38 ERA. He had a 5-inning start, or no, that was a relief appearance, I think. 5 innings of 2 runs. That was, I think, in Game 4, the game that they lost. 5 innings of 2 runs against the Yanks. In a start against the Astros, 5 innings of 2 runs. So you're seeing the pattern there. We would be lucky, I think, with the way the Dodgers offense is playing to get that again. Total batters faced, 21 both times. So that was him going through the order completely twice, and then facing the top 3 hitters a third time through, which, okay, it might be different for the Dodgers. Maybe you don't want him to see Mookie Betts lefty on righty 3 times. I wouldn't be surprised if not innings, not pitch count, but a batters faced limit. Okay, you're only going to face 18 batters, which is the lineup 2 times through. He has an appearance in this World Series again. Game 1, he got a couple outs, 19 pitches. That came on six days rest, so he was fully loaded to go. So that's a bit weird as well. He hasn't had a full start in basically like 10 or 11 days. So he pitches 19 times and gets 2 outs. Gets the Rays out of the 5th. So in this start he's only going to be on 3 days rest. So typically for a starter, as we know, it's 4 days rest. I don't think it matters. Again, 19 in the regular season you don't do that, but postseason and World Series it's going to be fine. I think he's fully stretched out. They're not going to have him throw more than 80 pitches anyway. Again, I would imagine they may, I don't know, that pattern where he 5 innings, 2 runs, 21 batters faced 2 times in a row, that's pretty telling. I mean, again, following patterns is a big deal. He walked 1 against the Yankees, walked 2 against the Astros. Limiting base runners is huge for him because weak contact, all that stuff, that's how you get through a start. I don't care about punch outs. I don't care about any of that other stuff. Just don't give up base runners. Hits will happen, but you got to do the best that you can, and Yarbrough knows that. I mean, no one works, and by no means am I saying that he's not a good pitcher, because he absolutely is, but no one does more with a little bit less than Ryan Yarbrough, I'd say. His stuff isn't bad, but it's not overpowering. If he had to gut out a pitch, like if he really wanted to reach back and try and blow someone away, he could maybe itch out 90 or 91. Morton at 36 can probably touch 98 if he really wanted to. So, and part of that I think is by the design. I don't think sidewinders can really get that much velocity because the control would kind of get out of whack. But either way, we'll see. If I can find game 1, the batters that he faced. He faced 4 men. It might take me a minute to pull it up here. Got out of the 5th, so that would have been, yeah, they got out of the 5th. I don't know why. I might have missed something up there. Yeah, okay, no, looking at the wrong page. Okay. So, that was an inning where a lot of men came to the plate as well. Started off with a walk to Mookie Betts, then a walk Corey Seager. Okay, so he came in, he faced, I believe this is correct. No, okay, sorry. Took me a minute just to find it. Got Cody Bellinger to pop out, single off of Chris Taylor, single off of Jock Peterson, got Austin Barnes to fly out. So he faced, the 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters. So hasn't faced the top of the guys that you would think would work in favor of Yarbs. Betts, Seager, Turner, Muncy, haven't seen them. Maybe it works out. Innings is hard to predict again. I think 18 batters face. Just get through the order 2 times through. Let the bullpen handle it. Anderson hasn't pitched in a couple days. Castillo hasn't pitched in a couple days. Fairbanks hasn't pitched in a couple days. You get the idea. The bullpen's ready to go. They can, and Castillo, he only pitched like 3 pitches. He hasn't really pitched outright in like 3 or 4 days, so he's ready to go. They can play matchups as well. I mean, looking at, they've got everyone. Fleming could, I guess, extend a relief. Loop, Sheriff, potentially on a back-to-back. You'd think he'd be ready. Thompson, I think, could play a role again. He's huge with men on base. I think he's inherited 10 or 11 base runners and has allowed none of them to score this year in the regular season. So, if you don't have Nick Anderson available at that point in the game to clean up a mess, Thompson could do it as well. So, like their options there. For Julio Urias, and I've got some different metrics that are going to change things up as we reach, I guess, the 2-hour mark. It's been a long show. In the regular season, he went 3-0 with a 3.27 ERA, a left-hander, 24 years old, out of Mexico, by the way. He's pitched 16 innings in the postseason to a tune of a 0.56 ERA. So I heard Dave Wills, I think, on the broadcast mention something about the narrative of, okay, Charlie Morton had an 0.80 ERA through the 3 starts or whatever. So maybe Julio Urias is due. He's come in mixed roles, a 3-inning appearance against the Brewers of no runs, 5 innings of no runs against the Padres, 5 innings of 1 run against the Braves, and I know he came in relief in this one, 3 innings of no runs, the final 3 innings, in fact, of Game 7. So he pitched really in a big spot. So obviously no moment is too big for a guy like that. Let's just take a look the past couple years and see. Pitched about 4 innings in 2019, all against the Nationals. In 2018, pitched 6 innings, all 1-inning spots. Okay, 2017, let's see if he had postseason. Nope, did not pitch in the postseason. So limited, I guess, playoff. Pitched a little bit in 2016, but not a whole lot either. So 2020 is better sample size for him. I looked at his splits. He's weirdly pitched almost the same amount of innings as a starter as he has in relief. So doesn't really make a difference. I'm seeing regular season, some 6-inning starts against the Padres, Athletics, Astros, Diamondbacks. He's gotten through good lineups. So by no means is an easy guy. I just want to peek to see did he face the Rays. And he did. He did face the Rays a couple of times, and it was both in that series in LA. A 1-inning appearance against the Rays and a 1-inning appearance the next day. It would take me too long to try and pull up who he faced. He faced 4 batters in each, so I have no idea. Maybe, but if you've got time, you're bored tomorrow, whatever, Saturday, you got the day off, maybe pull that up, and maybe I'll throw that up on Twitter as well, just to, I don't want to waste too much of your guys' time. Looking at the splits, because I think this is pretty telling as well. Righty-lefty splits, sample size, he's faced 653 righties in his career, only 239 lefties. So, about, a third amount of lefties as righties. To righties, he's allowed a 240 average, to lefties a 218 average. So the splits as you would expect, not reverse splits, but just regular. A lefty pitcher is not as good against righties. Now life starts to make sense. The advanced metrics, of course, go the other way. Like OBP, slugging, OPS is pretty considerably actually favored the other way. So I don't know. Maybe it's tough to determine. More power, it looks like, off of lefties, but more average against righties. So that might have to do with just the type of pitches that he throws. So that's interesting to see. I would imagine probably another 5-4 split. 5 righties, 4 lefties, just depending on how things work out. That may not be possible. I don't exactly know. Or I don't know. We'll see. And then a couple other things just to see. Yeah, again, he's pitched. Yeah. Again, I told you about the same amount as starters as relievers. In various pitch counts. I'll just rattle through. First pitch, guys are batting 250 against him on a 1-0, 364. On 2-0, 267. No hits ever on a 3-0 count. 0-1, 341. 1-1, 356. 2-1, 371. So there are some good spots. Even an 0-1. 0-1 count, 351. That probably has to do with whatever pitch he throws. Typically, what about when he gets behind, or when the hitter gets behind? After 0-2, batters are 163. After 1-2, 164. After 2-2, 193. And then here you go. These are some good stats as well. When the batter's ahead, batters are 274. When it's an even count, 240. When the pitcher's ahead, 203. You would expect those splits. But there are some favorable counts in there. Again, 350. If you get ahead by a pitch, or even in 0-1, there's an advantage to be had there. So, and this is all courtesy of Baseball Reference. There's some interesting stuff in there. There's certainly things that can be done there, without a doubt. And I think that's that's about it. As well, is there one? With men on base, he is hitters are 232 against him, and I guess without, they're 236. So about the same. So he's about the same out of the stretch, out of the windup, which makes sense if he's a guy that comes in relief. So that's it. As far as I don't think they have probably first, second, third time through the lineup, as I'm just trying to rattle through. Wow, they've got a lot of stuff. They've got against umpires. They've got all kinds of baseball reference. I know is huge with that. So with that being said, all those stats that may not mean anything for Julio Urias, all that I can tell is catch is going to go balance righty-lefty, and looks to me early in counts is when you're going to get the best stuff. Even if you're down 0-1, it seems like the track record is pretty good with how you can attack him. So with that being said, trying to maybe play guesswork with the lineup. To catch, probably Mike Zunino again. Bullpen day, I don't know, maybe they feel more comfortable with Big Z, although they may just want a different look and get Perez at the plate. But I would imagine, I don't know his splits, but maybe Perez is just only good against right-handed pitchers. I have no clue, though. So we'll do Zunino to catch. Infield third to first. I don't know if they're going to go aggressive, because you could put Brasso at third, but I think it's more likely that they go Wendell at third, to be honest with you. Adames to play shortstop. Brandon Loud probably to play second. And first base, take your pick of maybe what they'll do is we'll do this. Brasso at first base, Yandy to DH. So that way you can get both of them in the lineup without having to do first and third. So you still get Wendell at third, and you get Brasso and Diaz in the lineup. Diaz to DH. Brasso, I think, is the better first baseman, most likely. In the outfield, Rosarena, of course, in left. Kiermaier in center, and probably Margot would be in right. It just seems like that's kind of the way things have been going. So, and then Meadows and Tsuchigo will hit the bench. You also have Phillips, Hunter Renfroe, and Ji-Man Choi off the bench. So a mix of righties and lefties a little bit. Only, to my account, one righty off the bench. So how they structure the lineup, no idea. Yandy will probably lead off. A Rosarena, followed by Lau is usually how they do it against lefties. They'll switch it up. Batting cleanup would be maybe Brasso to clean up, I would imagine. And then, the rest of the lineup has been fairly the same. Margot 5th, Wendell 6th, Adames 7th, Kiermaier 8th, Zunino 9th. But you can mix it up any way you want. I like having Zunino bat 8th and Kiermaier 9th, but who knows if Cash will go that way. But I'd imagine they get Brasso and Yandy in the lineup against a left-hander. We'll see. Would love to see. Yandy's only had one extra base hit this year. It was a short porch homer in right field in Yankee Stadium, and that's the only stadium where that's a home run. Any other park, that's a fly out to right. So he's really had no true extra base hit. It's all been singles, a lot of infield singles. It's been a weird season for Yandy. Lead off, we all remember his wild card game, the multi-home run game. We keep thinking, I keep thinking he's due, but I think maybe this is just what Yandy Diaz is this year. But a leadoff hitter that can work walks, I'll take it. I'm not going to complain about that. Much better than I think what Meadows has been bringing to the table, to be honest. And we'll see how Brasso hits, if he hits cleanup. I know he's been only one hit after that homer in the Game 5 against the Yanks. So we'll see. 8:08 will be on. 11:30 or whatever time it is. It's now 1:17 here on the East Coast. So I'm going to hit the hay. College football tomorrow. By the way, Bucks got Antonio Brown. Just a quick, I don't like the move. Bruce Arians himself coached him in Pittsburgh. Says he's a diva. That's not just coach blowing smoke. Again, Bruce Arians has coached him, said he's a diva, didn't want him. Brady, I guess, has been insisting, so we'll see. I know Evans and Godwin have been hurt. OJ is out for the year. Targets are limited, so I don't know. Maybe they don't love the guys that they have. They want to get some firepower in there. Brady, Trace Brown. That's it on that. Rays, Dodgers tomorrow. Yarbrough on the mound. Let's get the win. We'll talk to you then.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC